everyone, today we are going to read Dolphin Boy written by Michael Morpurgo and illustrated by Michael Foreman. As Ludao is a channel that advocates bilingual learning, we will be reading the book in dual languages of English and Chinese Mandarin.
大家好，今天我们要读一本由迈克尔·莫尔普戈撰写和迈克尔·福尔曼绘图的《海豚男孩》。由于乐刀是一个倡导双语学习的频道，我们将以中英双语来阅读这本书。
现在就让我们以双语阅读。
Here it goes in dual languages. Once upon a time, the little fishing village was a happy place.
曾经，这个小渔村是个快乐的地方。
Not anymore.
现在不再是了。
Once upon a time, the fishermen of the village used to go out fishing every day.
曾经，村里的渔民们每天都出海捕鱼。
Not anymore.
现在不再是这样了。
Once upon a time, there were lots of fish to catch.
曾经有很多鱼可供渔民们捕捉。
Not anymore.
现在不再有了。
Now the boats lay high and dry on the beach, their paint peeling in the sun, their sails rotting in the rain.
现在，成排的渔船在沙滩上风干，它们的油漆在阳光下剥落，船帆在雨水中腐烂。
Jim's father was the only fisherman who still took his boat out. That was because he loved the Sally Mae like an old friend and just couldn't bear to be parted from her.
吉姆的父亲是唯一还会开船出海的渔民，那是因为他爱莎莉梅号就像爱自己的老朋友一样，舍不得和他分开。
Whenever Jim wasn't at school, his father would take him along. Jim loved the Sally Mae as much as his father did, in spite of her raggedy old tails. There was nothing he liked better than taking the helm or hauling in the nets with his father.
只要吉姆没去学校，他的父亲就会带他一起出海。吉姆和他的父亲一样喜欢莎莉梅，尽管他的尾巴已经破旧不堪。他最喜欢的事情就是掌舵，或者和父亲一起拖网。
One day, on his way home from school, Jim saw his father sitting alone on the quay, staring out at an empty bay. Jim couldn't see the Sally Mae anywhere.
Where's the Sally Mae?
He asked.
有一天，在放学回家的路上，吉姆看到父亲一个人坐在码头，凝望着空荡荡的海湾发呆。吉姆到处都看不到莎莉梅。
莎莉梅在哪里？
他问。
She's up on the beach,
said his father.
with all the other boats. I've caught no fish at all for a week, Jim. She needs new sails, and I haven't got the money to pay for them. No fish, no money. We can't live without money. I'm sorry, Jim.
他在海滩上，
父亲说，
和其他船只在一起。我已经1个星期没捕到鱼了，吉姆。他需要更换新帆，可我没钱买。没鱼就没钱，没钱我们就没法活下去。对不起，吉姆。
That night, Jim cried himself to sleep.
那天晚上，吉姆哭着睡着了。
After that, Jim always took the beach road to school because he liked to have a look at the Sally Mae before school began.
从那以后，吉姆总是走海滨路去上学，因为他喜欢在上学前去看一眼莎莉梅。
He was walking along the beach one morning when he saw something lying in the sand amongst the seaweed. It looked like a big log at first, but it wasn't.
一天早上，当他走在海滩上时，看到沙滩上的海草中躺着一个东西。起初，它看起来像是一根大木头，但其实不是。
It was moving.
它在动。
It had a tail and a head.
它有尾巴和头。
It was a dolphin.
那是一只海豚。
Jim knelt in the sand beside him. The boy and the dolphin looked into each other's eyes. Jim knew then exactly what he had to do.
吉姆跪在海豚旁边的沙滩上，男孩和海豚对视着。吉姆知道自己该怎么做了。
Don't worry,
He said,
I'll fetch help. I'll be back soon, I promise.
别担心，
他说，
我去找人来帮忙，我很快就回来，我保证。
He ran all the way up the hill to school as fast as he could go. Everyone was in the playground.
他向山坡上一路小跑，以最快的速度跑到学校。大家都在操场上。
You've got to come.
He cried.
There's a dolphin on the beach. We've got to get him back in the water, or he'll die.
你们一定要来！
他喊道。
海滩上有一只海豚，我们得把它救回水里，不然它会死的。
Down the hill to the beach the children ran, the teachers as well. Soon, everyone in the village was there, Jim's father and his mother too.
孩子们从山坡上跑向海滩，老师们也跟了过来。很快，村子里所有的人都来了，吉姆的父亲和母亲也来了。
Fetch the Sally Mae's sail,
cried Jim's mother.
We'll roll him onto it.
把莎莉梅的帆拿来，
吉姆的母亲喊道。
我们要把它移到船帆上。
When they had fetched the sail, Jim crouched down beside the dolphin's head, stroking him and comforting him.
Don't worry,
he whispered.
We'll soon have you back in the sea.
取到船帆后，吉姆蹲在海豚的头边，抚摸，安慰着他。
别担心，
他低语道：“
我们很快就会把你送回大海。”
They spread out the sail and rolled him onto it, very gently. Then, when everyone had taken a tight grip of the sail, Jim's father gave the word.
Lift.
他们摊开帆，轻轻地把海豚转移到帆上。然后，当每个人都紧紧地抓住帆时，吉姆的父亲一声令下：“
抬起来！”
With 100 hands lifting together, they soon carried the dolphin down to the sea, where they laid him in the shallows and let the waves wash over him.
只见100多只手一起抬起了海豚，并很快地把它带到了海边，搁放至浅滩上，让海浪漫过它。
The dolphin squeaked and clicked and slapped the sea with his smiley mouth.
海豚吱吱嘎嘎地叫着，以笑脸拍打着海面。
He was swimming now, but he didn't seem to want to leave. He swam around and around.
他现在开始游泳，但似乎并不想离开。他在游来游去。
Off you go,
Jim shouted, wading in and trying to push him out to sea.
Off you go,
and off he went at last.
你走吧，
吉姆喊道，并涉水试着把他推向大海。
你走吧。
他终于游走了。
Everyone was clapping and cheering and waving goodbye. Jim just wanted him to come back again. But he didn't. Along with everyone else, Jim stayed and watched until he couldn't see him anymore.
大家都鼓掌欢呼，与海豚挥手告别。吉姆只希望他能再回来，但他没有。和其他人一样，吉姆一直看着，直到再也看不见他。
That day at school, Jim could think of nothing but the dolphin. He even thought up a name for him. Smiler seemed to suit him perfectly.
那天在学校里，吉姆满脑子里都是那只海豚，他甚至为它想好了名字，笑笑似乎非常适合它。
The moment school was over, Jim ran back to the beach, hoping and praying Smiler might have come back. But Smiler wasn't there. He was nowhere to be seen.
一放学，吉姆就跑回海滩上，希望并祈祷着笑笑可能回来了。但是笑笑并不在那里，他不知所踪。
Filled with sudden sadness, he rushed down to the pier.
Come back, Smiler.
He cried.
Please come back, please.
他突然悲从中来，冲向码头。
笑笑，回来呀！
他喊道：“
请回来吧，求求你了。”
At that moment, Smiler rose up out of the sea, right in front of him. He turned over and over in the air, before he crashed down into the water, splashing Jim from head to toe.
就在这时，笑笑竟在他的面前从海中一跃而起。他在空中转了一圈又一圈，然后坠入水中，溅得吉姆从头到脚都是水。
Jim didn't think twice. He dropped his bag, pulled off his shoes, and dived off the pier.
吉姆没有多想，他扔下书包，脱掉鞋子，并跳下了码头。
At once, Smiler was there beside him, swimming all around him, leaping over him, diving under him. Suddenly, Jim found himself being lifted up from below. Woo! He was sitting on Smiler. He was riding him.
只见笑笑瞬间出现在他的身边，在他周围游来游去，从他身上越过，从他身下潜过。突然，吉姆发现自己被笑笑从下方拖了起来，他正坐在笑笑的身上，他正骑在他身上。
Off they sped out to sea, Jim clinging on as best as he could. Whenever he fell off, and he often did, Smiler was always there, so that Jim could always get on again. The further they went, the faster they went. And the faster they went, the more Jim liked it.
他们飞快地冲向大海，吉姆拼命地抓紧着。每当他掉下来的时候，他经常掉下来，笑笑总是在他的身边，这样吉姆总能再爬上去。他们越游越远，越游越快。他们游得越快，吉姆就越喜欢。
Around and around the bay, Smiler took him, and then back at last, to the quay. By this time, everyone in the village had seen them, and the children were diving off the quay, and swimming out to meet them.
笑笑带着他绕着海湾转了一圈又一圈，最后终于回到了码头。这时，村子里的每一个人都看到了他们，孩子们纷纷跳下码头，游过来迎接他们。
All of them wanted to swim with Smiler, to touch him, to stroke him, to play with him. And Smiler was happy to let them. They were having the best time of their lives.
他们都想和笑笑一起游泳、触碰、抚摸他，并和他一起玩耍。笑笑很乐意让他们这样做。他们度过了一生中最美好的时光。
Every day after that, Smiler would be swimming near the quay waiting for Jim, to give him his ride. And every day, the children swam with him, and played with him too. They loved his kind eyes and smiling face.
之后的每一天，笑笑都会在码头的附近游泳，等到吉姆来后载他。孩子们每天都和他一起游泳，一起玩耍。孩子们喜欢他和善的眼神和微笑的脸庞。
Smiler was everyone's best friend.
笑笑是大家最好的朋友。
Then one day, Smiler wasn't there. They waited for him. They looked for him. But he never came. The next day, he wasn't there either, nor the next, nor the next.
然后有一天，笑笑不在那儿了。他们等着他，他们寻找着他，但他一直没来。隔天他也没来，接下来的一天也没来，再接下来的一天他也没来。
Jim was broken-hearted, and so were all the children. Everyone in the village missed Smiler, young and old alike, and longed for him to come back. Each day they looked, and each day he wasn't there.
吉姆和所有的孩子们都伤心欲绝，村子里的每一个人都很想念笑笑，老老少少都是如此，都渴望着他能回来。他们每天都在寻找他，但他每天都不再出现。
When Jim's birthday came, his mother gave him something she hoped might cheer him up, a wonderful carving of a dolphin. She'd made it herself, out of driftwood.
吉姆的生日那天，他的母亲送给他一样东西，希望能让他开心起来。那是一个精美的海豚雕刻，他自己亲手用浮木做的。
But not even that seemed to make Jim happy.
但即使是这样，吉姆似乎也高兴不起来。
Then his father had a bright idea.
Jim,
He said,
why don't we all go out in the Sally Mae? Would you like that?
这时，父亲灵机一动，
吉姆，
他说
为何我们不一起随莎莉梅出海？你觉得呢？
Yes,
Jim cried.
then we could look for Smiler too.
当然，
吉姆喊道。
那我们也可以去找笑笑。
So they hauled the Sally Mae down to the water, and set the sails. Out of the bay they went, out onto the open sea, where despite her raggedy old sails, the Sally Mae flew along over the waves.
于是，他们把莎莉梅号拖入水，扬起风帆。他们驶出海湾，驶向大海。尽管莎莉梅的风帆已经破旧不堪，但它仍在波涛中飞驰。
Jim loved the wind in his face, and the salt spray on his lips. There were lots of gulls and gannets, but no sight of Smiler anywhere. He called for him again, and again, but he didn't come.
吉姆喜欢迎面吹来的风和洒在嘴唇上的盐雾。海面上有很多的海鸥和大嘴鸟，但到处都看不到笑笑。他一次又一次地呼唤着他，可他就是不来。
The sun was setting by now, the sea glowing gold around them.
夕阳西下，海面在他们的周围泛着金光。
I think we'd better be getting back.
Jim's father told him.
我想，我们最好还是回去吧。
吉姆的父亲对他说
Not yet.
Jim cried.
He's out here somewhere. I know he is.
还不行，
吉姆喊道。
他就在这里的某个地方，我知道他在。
As the Sally Mae turned for home, Jim called out one last time.
Come back, Smiler. Please come back. Please.
当莎莉梅转向回家时，吉姆最后一次喊道：“
回来吧，笑笑，求求你回来吧，求求你了。”
Suddenly the sea began to boil and bubble around the boat, almost as if it was coming alive. And it was alive too, alive with dolphins. There seemed to be hundreds of them, leaping out of the sea alongside them, behind them, in front of them.
突然，小船周围的海水开始沸腾，冒泡，就好像活过来一般。确实，海水因为成群的海豚而活过来了。它们似乎足足有数百只，它们从他们的身边、身后、面前跃出海面。
Then, one of them leapt clear over the Sally Mae, right above Jim's head. It was Smiler. Smiler had come back, and by the look of it, he'd brought his whole family with him.
然后，其中有一只海豚越过了莎莉梅，并正好就从吉姆的头顶上方越过。是笑笑，笑笑回来了，而且看样子，他还带着全家一起来了。
As the Sally Mae sailed into the bay, everyone saw her coming, the dolphins dancing all about her in the golden sea. What a sight it was!
当莎莉梅号驶入海湾时，所有人都看到了她的到来，以及海豚在金色的海面上翩翩起舞。这是多么壮观的景象啊！
Within days the village was full of visitors, all of them there to see the famous dolphins, and to see Smiler playing with Jim and the children.
没过几天，村子里就挤满了游客，他们都是来看著名的海豚们，来看笑笑与吉姆和孩子们玩耍的。
And every morning, the Sally Mae, and all the little fishing boats put to sea, crammed with visitors, all of them only too happy to pay for their trip of a lifetime. They loved every minute of it, holding onto their hats, and laughing with delight, as the dolphins frisked and frolicked around them.
每天早上，莎莉梅和所有出海的小渔船上都挤满了游客，他们都非常乐意地为这一生的难忘之旅买单。当成群的海豚在他们的身边嬉戏打闹时，他们紧紧地抓住自己的帽子，开心地笑着。
Jim had never been so happy in all his life. He had Smiler back, and now his father had all the money he needed to buy new sails for the Sally Mae. And all the other fishermen too could mend their sails and paint their boats. Once again, the village was a happy place.
吉姆这辈子从未这么开心过。他找回了笑笑，而现在他的父亲也有了为莎莉梅买新帆布所需的钱。除此之外，所有其他的渔民们也都可以修补他们的船帆，粉刷他们的船身了。村子里又恢复了以往欢乐的气氛。
As for the children,
至于孩子们
they could go swimming with the dolphins whenever they wanted to. They could stroke them, and swim with them, and play with them, and even talk to them. But they all knew that only one dolphin would ever let anyone sit on them.
只要他们愿意，就可以随时和海豚们一起游泳。他们可以抚摸它们，和它们一起游泳、玩耍，甚至和它们说话。但他们都知道，仅有一只海豚会允许人类骑在它的身上。
That was Smiler.
那就是笑笑。
And they all knew that there was only one person in the whole world who Smiler would take for a ride.
他们也都知道，这全世界，笑笑只会带着一个人去兜风。
And that was Jim.
而那个人就是吉姆。
你喜欢海豚男孩这个体现了人与动物关爱之情和深厚友谊的故事吗？故事以双语阅读，以便让我们可以通过故事来轻松地学习中英文。 如果你是第一次看到这个双语频道，请记得点击订阅哦。也欢迎你点赞、分享和评论，非常感谢。
Did you enjoy this Dolphin Boy story, which embodies the caring love and deep friendship between humans and animals? It is being read in bilingual so that we can learn English and Chinese easily through the story. If it is the first time that you chanced upon this bilingual channel, please remember to hit the subscribe button. Feel free to like, share and comment too. Thank you very much.